What a Life by EXO-SC. Really looking forward to doing this K-pop reaction and analysis video with you guys. If you don't know who I am, my name is AZODi and I've been a K-pop producer for a few years. Check out my previous video, What I Learned Producing K-pop, to give you a bit more context. If you are a songwriter or producer, I have put together some free K-pop MIDI files which you can download for absolutely free down below. I'll put the link in the description. I've listened to the song a few times so I can give you a much more detailed analysis. The song is produced by Divine Channel and I did a quick check and the BPM is sitting around 135. If you would like more K-pop reaction and analysis videos, I would really appreciate your subscription. Absolutely love that instrument.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you in a bit more.
시스템 종료 클릭. 오늘 미세먼지는 free. 차키 챙겨서 나가. 오랜만에 도론 뻥 뚫렸으니. 시간 되는 애들 나. 동그랗게 먹여서 왜. 동그라미 네모 세모 X. 지겹지 않음의 게임.
So off the bat, you've got these kind of quirky sounding xylophone plucks that sort of sound like a blend of a few instruments they put together, or maybe a couple. Now, if you listen really carefully, they've sampled like bubbling, like say, like a hot cauldron, which is crazy because I don't know what, that's just a great idea in the first place. And they've also put some vinyl crackle over the top to give it a kind of more of a vintage sort of lo-fi feel to it, which is really cool. And if you listen really carefully, I think what they're doing with the chords is, imagine you've got the stereo field and you've got the center here and you've got left and right. They've got this subtle little panning effect going on the chords, which gives it this nice sort of like pumping feel, which gives it a lot more movement and it feels a lot more interesting. And instead of having it sort of static in the middle, it's kind of moving around a bit. Really, really subtle techniques, really, really clever production. The instruments sound like something I've heard from a SHAWN WASABI track called Burnt Rice. I'll put a link in the description box below and check it out, but that's the kind of closest thing I know to it.
그래서 오늘 어디로 갈까? 번개처럼 인천공항으로 갈까? 구름 찢으며 파란 하늘을 날까? 옆 나라에서 별 보는 것도 좋아.
날씨는 so amazing. 재미난 일이 생길 듯해.
Cool, so we got the pre-chorus build going into the chorus that's going to come up next, but they've brought the energy down. They've also brought the chord melody, same chords, but they've brought them down, I think, either an octave lower. With those chords, at the first half of the first verse, they're quite plucky and quite tight sounding. Now what they do is, when the 808, which is the really heavy bass, comes in, it almost sounds like instead of being the chords having them very tight, they actually ease off on the tightness and they start to open up a bit, and the release time gets a little bit longer and it sounds much more like it flows along with the 808 bass. It's really, really cool.
계획 없으면 뭐 어때? We are still young and free. 나는 놀려고 이래. 일도 놀 때처럼 해. 너는 어때? 매일 노는 것 같아. 신성 같아. What a life, what a life, what a life. What a life, what a life, what a life. What a life, what a life. 나는 놀려고 이래. 일도 놀 때처럼 해. 너는 어때? 매일 노는 것 같아. 신성 같아. What a life, what a life, what a life. What a life, what a life, what a life, what a life, what a life.
Chorus split into two halves. You've got the A chorus at the beginning and the second half, which is what we call the B chorus. Normally in K-pop and pop writing in general, the B chorus is more of the section that you want to be able to sing along, and you put the main hook of the song in, and that's what they're doing here. They're singing the title of the song and repeating it as a hook in the B chorus. It's a very subtle, but what they do is they lift the song up. It's had the same chords pretty much since the beginning, which is cool, but they make the 808 bass much more prominent. There's a lot more vocal harmonies going on and a lot more subtle stuff going in the peripheral sort of side elements. Now listen out, because they bring in some new percussive drum elements, and one of them is like, it's got this random sort of like hissy sort of hit that comes in on every other beat, which is cool. The trick is you don't really want to give everything away straight away, and even though this is the first chorus and you want to give the listener some payoff, you don't want to give everything straight away. So when it comes back to the final chorus, which you'll hear later, there's going to be a lot more going on. And this is kind of classic songwriting. As well, I want to point out that In K-pop, it's always really good to write a little bit of crazy and a little bit of weird because it gives the song much more character, it's much more interesting, and they brought back that bubble sound, which is a prime example of making it interesting and different. We're going to move into verse 2 now, which is going to be a rap, and I'm going to pull out some more elements for you to check out and listen to.
젊고 자유롭지 성격은 모서리가 없어 친구들은 내 주변에 빙 둘러 앉아있지 난 신선 같고 신선해 나 친척 같고 친절해 내 지갑은 오늘 깼다고 내 Do you wanna get down with me
그래서 오늘 밤엔 어디로 갈까 겁은 뻔해 거리가 차라리 낫잖아 야자수 옆에 바닷가도 난 좋아 Day and night 시동 걸렸죠 오늘은 뭔가 될 것 같아
Cool, verse 2, rap. Now, it's split into two halves, and now this is really subtle, and I really want you to listen out for this. The first half of the rap, before the 808 bass comes in, they've got a snare just hitting on the 1, 2, 3, 4. And what happens is, on the fourth hit, they add an extra layer of snare sitting underneath it, which is kind of a flam. A flam is a snare hit where you use two hands, and instead of both hitting at exactly the same point, you do one slightly after the other one, kind of like that. And this kind of gives a cut, like it's quite a stylish sort of sound. I really like using it. Now, what happens is when the 808 comes in, they change the snare. And I think they either change the snare or they add another layer on top, which is a lot brighter. And it helps the snare raise slightly in volume and power because there's more instruments being introduced, like the bass. Yeah, have a listen out for that. Now we're going to enter into the pre-chorus and then the second chorus after that.
밤 공기는 so amazing 재미난 일이 생길 듯해 계획 없으면 뭐 어때
Building that hype.
나는 놀려고 이래 일도 놀 때처럼 해 너는 어때 매일 노는 것 같아 신성 같아 What a life, what a life, what a life What a life, what a life, what a life What a life, what a life 나는 놀려고 이래 일도 놀 때처럼 해 너는 어때
So summery, isn't it? Awesome.
신성 같아 What a life, what a life, what a life What a life, what a life, what a life What a life, what a life Life is good Life is good
Cool, so we're in the middle 8. They're going to bring the energy down. Still the same chords. They're still using the same chords, which is really cool. So yeah, they brought the energy down. Not as low, say, as the intro, but still enough for a payoff. Then what's going to happen is they're going to build you up for the final chorus, where pretty much with most pop and K-pop and J-pop and all that, the last chorus tends to be the highest peak of the song. That's where you put all the energy and all the ideas into. So you're going to start hearing some extra vocal ad-libs and extra elements. You're taking people on a musical journey. You know, this is the beginning here, and this is the end, and you kind of want to introduce new elements and new subtle hints. Just want to build you up now.
일도 놀 때처럼 해 너는 어때 매일 노는 것 같아 신성 같아 What a life, what a life, what a life What a life, what a life, what a life What a life, what a life 나는 놀려고 이래 일도 놀 때처럼 해 너는 어때 매일 노는 것 같아 신성 같아 What a life, what a life, what a life What a life, what a life, what a life What a life, what a life
Thanks for watching the video, guys. Really appreciate it. If you want more K-pop reaction and analysis videos, I would really appreciate your subscription. And yet again, if you are a producer or songwriter, I put together some free K-pop MIDI chords which you can download in the description box below. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you on Thursday.